The Silent Watcher. In a small, quiet town, nestled deep within a dense forest, there was an old, decrepit house that everyone in the village whispered about. For decades, no one dared to approach it. The house was said to be cursed, its windows dark and lifeless, its walls harboring secrets that no one should ever uncover. One chilly autumn evening, a young woman named Clara, recently moved to the village, heard the rumors about the house from a local shopkeeper. Curious and brave, she decided to visit the place, intrigued by the mystery surrounding it. As she approached the house, the wind howled, carrying the scent of damp leaves and decay. The house stood at the edge of a forgotten road, covered in thick ivy, its wooden porch creaking with every gust of wind. The front door was slightly ajar, as if inviting her in. Against her better judgment, Clara stepped forward and pushed the door open. Inside, the house was cold and smelled of rot. The walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, and the floorboards groaned under her weight. As Clara moved deeper into the house, she felt an unsettling presence, as though someone was watching her from the shadows. The silence was overwhelming, broken only by the sound of her own breathing. Suddenly, a low whisper echoed through the hall. Clara froze, her heart racing. The voice was barely audible, but she could make out a few words. "I see you." Her eyes darted around the room, but there was no one in sight. The voice came again, this time clearer. "I see you, and I'm coming for you." Clara's mind raced, but she couldn't move. Her legs felt like lead, her body frozen in place by an invisible force. The temperature in the room dropped drastically, her breath now visible in the air. Then, through the fog of her breath, she saw something. A figure in the distance, standing motionless at the end of the hallway. The figure was tall, dressed in dark, tattered clothing. Its face was hidden beneath a hood, but Clara could feel its eyes on her, burning through the darkness. A chill ran down her spine as she realized that the figure was not moving, yet it seemed to be getting closer with every heartbeat. Panic surged through her, and she turned to run. But the house, once familiar, now seemed like a labyrinth, its halls stretching endlessly. Every time she thought she found the exit, the door led her deeper into the darkness. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, as if the figure was closing in on her. In a desperate attempt to escape, Clara dashed up a narrow staircase. But as she reached the top, she was met by another figure, standing silently at the end of the hallway. This one was different. A woman, her face pale and expressionless, with hollow eyes that stared into Clara's soul. Clara tried to scream, but no sound escaped her lips. The figures slowly moved toward her, their steps synchronized, their presence suffocating. They were closing in on her from all sides, their cold, lifeless eyes never leaving her. In the final moments before they reached her, Clara realized the truth. The house wasn't abandoned. It had always been home to something far darker. The figures were not mere ghosts. They were hunters, and she was their prey. The last thing she heard before the darkness consumed her was the whisper, now directly behind her ear. "I told you. I see you." The next morning, the villagers found the house just as they always had. Silent, abandoned, and empty. But they couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was still watching, waiting for the next curious soul to step into its grasp.